Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fourth cycle of book clubs across borders between Pakistan and Afghanistan. We are so excited to be with you today, and we're hoping that as we progress further, our connections and friendships go stronger. On that note, the book that we have today that we have been reading is called The Crow Eaters by Babsi Sidwa. This book is something that is really important for the book club because of two particular reasons. One, because it's a fantastic read, and second, because it talks so the book is written by a Parsi lady, and Parsis are a small community in Pakistan, mostly centered in Karachi and Lahore. And these people have contributed largely to Pakistan's economic and heritage structures. It's a small community but believes in giving a lot, and that is something that we feel is really important as we progress into the book clubs. And another reason for choosing this book was simply because it is something that we need to speak about minorities, their role, and how can we, as majority in a population, help our minorities and make sure that the troubles that we are living through don't become a testament to our existence. And on that note, I'd like to start our conversation and start with Kunar and ask people from that end to come and tell us about the book that they read, what they thought was interesting, and any thoughts and ideas that came to their minds while they were reading the book that they would like to be a part of this discussion. So, Kunar, over to you.
Good morning to everyone, especially the ma'am. This is Naseem from Kunar, Asadabad. Thank you so much to join. I have to join with this conference. I'm so thankful from your today mark for the conference, this fourth conference of us. We have the book of the Crow Eaters. I have to express. We divided to three parts, or we partition this book onto three parts. The first part is this biography of the author, Websi Sedwa. And the second part is rules and in fact of the books and the society, or the nouns of the society. And the third one, mind summary and story of this book. What's the mind summary or the mind story of the book? The first two sections I will be read this. I will be share with you guys in the last part of the ceremony, last part of the book. My friend Ijaz will share this with you guys. Uh, the first thing, the biography of the author. Biography of the author, I'm presenting the first two parts. One is the biography, and the other one is the story, or the effects of the effects of the books on society. The first thing is that the biography of that Bibi Sidwa was born in Karachi in 1938. In Karachi, in August 11, brought up in Lahore. And then Bepsi Sidwa graduated of Kinaret College. We call in Pakistan, they use college for 11 to 12 grade, but we use high school and we use that one for high school. In Pakistan, they use high school for college for 11 and 12th grade, but we use that for the college. College use for higher education as well, like university. The other thing, he want, or he get a reward, or he reach a reward of the Writers Digest, the readers. And then she has started the claiming the University of Honor Mount Highland. Then I coming to the for second part of the book, the rules in the effects of the book on society. The first thing is that I have to share that is so too must, or so must for us, that I have to learn, and I have interest with that part of the book as well. The thing is that the main point is that if we I didn't in first I didn't have interest in the book when I read the book more interest into the book, and I have read it like 2 or three times as well. The first thing, this is the book, the main idea of the book that write of Parsi family. Parsi family was well, you're treated social issues. The book is right, and the family was like a social, political issues, and etc. And the main summary or the main thing of the book is that they have a lots of information about the cultures. They share the cultures of his society. Like we have Freddie was just like a family which lives in Lahore, and they make a family for himself. Then they bring, or there is a lot of trips in our Afghanistan, like Safi and other. There is a lot of trips. Like that was also like a trip in Karachi. They make lots of tradition. They make a social life for him themselves, and they share their opinion. They share their ideas with social media. And one of the person they read the book by the name of Crow Eaters. When the thing was that he shared, especially the issue was about the ethnic, especially in the post-colonial. That was the main idea. It deals with the ethic of subject, because the post-colonial age in issue of ethnic has its own significance. That was the mine. And the other thing is that they highlights the book, or the writer of the book, or the who write the book. They highlight the main point or the main thing of the family, which they did or which they're doing, which they did in the past. They highlight that and then write in this book.
Thank you so much for that detailed description. For my Afghan audience, I'd just like to talk about something. And before 1947, Pakistan and India both were known as United India, and they were under the British Empire. They were colonized in post the 1857 War of Independence or the Great Revolt. And after that, since 1857, the British Crown officially became a power that was controlling India, which was at that time the land of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all as one, right? So in 1947, what happened was, I mean, by the by the late 20th century, we saw a movement that picked up a lot of memento in this region, and that was that whole campaign was for the freedom from the British Empire, and. At that time, at the time of the British Empire, the land was spread in such a manner that you had multiple ethnicities living in a diverse region. So the whole of India had a large Hindu population, a large Muslim population, a large Sikh population, and then pockets of different populations like Christians and Jews, and also Zoroastrians, Parsis, right? And then when partition happened, the thing that we saw take place, the thing that we saw happen was that there was a shift in in ethnicities across the borders. So the land that became predominantly India saw a large influx of Hindu population migrating from, at that time, East and West Pakistan. Bangladesh was known as East Pakistan, and what is now Pakistan was known as West Pakistan during that time. And when Babsi is writing her novel, she's writing her novel at that time. She is situated in this region around the 1940s. And what we see in the 1940s is a mass movement of people. So, whereas when she was growing up in Lahore, she had she or an out migration of the Hindu population and the Sikh population that lived in Lahore prior to partition. All of these changes that were taking place. And then she also saw a large Muslim population coming from different areas of United India into Lahore, right? And when she observed all of these movements and the way it was changing the social structure of Lahore, the society of Lahore, she kind of, you see remnants of that very greatly in her writing. So when you're reading the book, The Crow Eaters, it's not just talking about the Parsi community, but it is also talking about the restructuring of the Pakistani culture and society at large. And I just wanted you to understand, because a lot of times when we're reading a book, even if it's a work of fiction like The Crow Eaters is, that work of fiction is greatly influenced by the person's personal story or what they are going through. And on that note, we, as the Citizens Archive of Pakistan, run a project called the Oral History Project, which started in 2007. And what we do is we go and collect stories from people who remember partition and the formative years of Pakistan. We were lucky enough to go and interview Bapsi Sidwa for the project as well. And while we were talking to her, she spoke to us about what prompted her to write the book that she wrote, and what also, and how she wrote it, how was it accepted by the society, and how she was able to publish it. So without further ado, I'd love for all of us to have a listen to Bapsi's story from her own lips, and then we'll come back and speak more on the book that you read.
Yeah, okay, we will discuss.
Alia, should I share my screen?
Yes, please.
All right. Yes, I can share it. Please let me know if you are able to hear the audio as well. Can you all hear the audio?
We can hear you, but could you make it full screen, please?
Is it visible now?
No.
Is it visible, Alia?
No, I can't see. I can just see a small frame with the video. You'll just need to click on the video and make it full screen for you.
All right. Is it visible?
No, it's still not visible.
Okay, I don't know why is that happening. Let me try again.
Yeah.
Is it working now?
Yes, perfect.
All right.
Thank you. We can't hear the audio properly.
It's not audible?
No.
I'm sorry, I don't know. The volume is full on my laptop.
Okay, can you come back from the beginning and try? Yeah.
How about I send it to you and then you can play it?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
All right. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why is that happening. I have done it before. All right. In the meantime, we can talk to other people and I'll send it to you while we can.
All right, lovely. So while Hurmat sends me the video and then I play it for you guys, let's move to our friends. Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can
hello.
hear you. Yes, we
Okay,
can hear you.
All right, great. So yeah, so let's move to our friends in Asadabad and ask them about what they thought about the book, and then we'll move over to Khairpur and ask our students in Khairpur as to what they thought about the book. So Asadabad, if you can hear us, we'd love to know what you thought about the book and what you'd like to share.
Hi, ma'am. Could you please give us a few minutes? We are going to set this camera. Here is a problem with internet and camera. So we will back in few minutes.
Sure. All right, sounds
we are
lovely. So
ready.
while Asadabad,
We are
lovely.
ready for Khairpur. Please.
So yes, Khairpur, please come on. We would love to know what you thought about the book and any points that were raised while you were reading the book that you would like to discuss today. So Khairpur, over to you.
First of all, Assalamu alaikum and good morning to all of you from my side. Today I'm really excited and today I'm really happy to meet with you again. And today I will what I learned from this book. Now I will tell you about from this book. First of all, Babsi Sidhwa born in Karachi and brought up in Lahore. Babsi Sidhwa, great poet in Kingdom College to Women Sidhwa, a graduate person of Sidhwa Hill Sidhwa, healed on Bunting Fellowship, a ready cape, and received the Pretious Lady World Reader Biggest Writer Award. She has taught at Columbia University, the University of Houston Mount Holyoke College, and South American University. She has been awarded in the Sitara Imtiaz, Pakistani highest national honor in the artist, and the writer of this book is Fatima Bhutto. Now I will tell you about introduction of this book, The Crow Eater. The Crow Eater more about the society of Parsi people in India and Pakistan. The story takes place over the first half of the 20th century and concerns the phalange of Parsi people Faridan Janglawala. After moving from a small village in central India to the city of Lahore, Faridi gains financial success through a variety of questionable money-making schemes such as arson and insurance. Meanwhile, sir, that's all, madam. I will tell about the introduction of novel. Now, my friend Mr. Abbas, would you tell about many knowledge about this book, The Crow Eater?
Hello, ma'am. First of all, my introduction. Me, Abbas Baloch from Khairpur city, in Pakistan. Once again, we are going to share ideas and great thoughts with each other about the given task novel, The Crow Eaters. So I share Bapsi Sidhwa as a writer of the novel. Bapsi Sidhwa has emerged as a leading woman novelist writing in English from Pakistan. In her novels, she shows her concern about the Pakistani roots, culture, and for treatment of recent history, i.e., patriotism. Being a Parsi, she also introduced her Parsi community in her novels. She has a distinct Parsi ethos in her novels, along with her individual voice. Now my friends are here. He will further share our story.
Thank you so much for that. And yes, who else from Khairpur would like to come and talk to us about the book that they read?
Maybe we can have a participant from the girls' side.
Um,
The Crow Eaters. This book is name is Crow Eaters. It's written by Fatima Bhutto. At the dawn of 20th century in Pakistan, Freddie Jungul Vela moved his family, had a pregnant wife and baby daughters, and Jelban his daughter and mother-in-law. From the ancestral forest home to Cosmopolitan Lahore, he opened a store. Fortunes grow, so does the animosity between Freddie and his mother-in-law. While Freddie prospers under British rule, life with the domineering is another matter entirely. While this extravagant novel full of floating humors paints a big pictures in the life Parsi community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information. Should we move to Asadabad now and get their opinions in the conversation, and then I can show you the video. So Asadabad, over to you.
Arya, were you able to hear
Asadabad,
that?
can you hear us? I'm sorry, we don't have your sound. Could you unmute, please?
Asadabad, if you may please unmute your mic.
Hello. Hello, ma'am, you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Asadabad, would you like to add a few comments in the conversation?
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, ma'am?
Asadabad, yes, I can hear you perfectly. We just wanted to know what you thought about the book and what you would like to share about the book with us.
Okay. Okay. I read this book, and this book was full of rollicking humor, pains, and vivid picture in the forest community. The story was belonged to the Fergian family. In this novel, they did so important actions. And the story has started as a time when Freddy came with own family and own mother-in-law into the Lahore to find to his fortunes, and he started a business and also a visited with Fergian's family and friends. And his wife Futli, which always did help with the Freddy in everyone work and problems. They are both had 7 children, and they were a happy and pleasant family. But they also had one enemy in on house, which is mother of Putli and mother-in-law of Freddy, which is was Jerbano. Jerbano always become nervous because Jerbano has realized it. If they come into the Lahore, may they supposedly would be stayed in the Lahore for the permanently. Jirbano said if we are living among the Muslims and Christianity be eliminated from there. And she didn't like to come to the Lahore. However, she came to the Lahore, and and her daughter Putli brought her with self into the Lahore. And also Freddy came here, but Jirban was much upset to why she came here. But from that track they wanted to have got a venture from Jerbano, and they always attempt to bother and suffering her to left Lahore again, but she couldn't to left the Lahore. Freddy and his wife always had Fauzi because of Jerbano, and his wife always had Fauzi because of Jerbano. She always made of noise and Fauzi at home. And one day Freddy became impatient from that place, impatient and burned the Jerbano house. And he escaped it from that place, but strength saved her life. From a window was a place firemen came and saved her life. After that, son of Fridi wanted to marry with Taina. Taina was the girl which belonged to a Persian family or tribe and wished to get married with Persian culture. And Billy agreed with the Tanya to accept that Persian traditions. Basically, a Persian tradition was so amazement when they affirmated the merit issue in front of the parents. First, they took one part and add the salt in the photo. When parents have seen the salt in the pot, the parents have drunk that salty water. After that, they would have to realize to our children have been able to get married. And this was a specific custom for get married in the Persian culture. And this novel's purpose is this: Persian people has used to bury the deed in the tower of slimes, and there was a cross come in it that who took through that work we did prize for the deeds. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much for that lovely recap of the whole story. And I love the fact that you were able to get into what the book was all about. It was about the Parsi community. It was about the relationship between a son-in-law and a mother-in-law. It talked about the fear of a minority community and how they cling to their customs and traditions because they believe that it's the only way that they will be able to preserve their their own identity in terms of their ethnic and cultural identity. And we see that as a constant struggle between Freddie and Sherbano, and it's full of humor. It's full of small anecdotes that take place, and a lot of times, I mean, when you're reading the book, you find yourself rolling over with laughter, and sometimes you're just like, really, this is not what you're thinking. So by and large, the book is written in a very light, humorous way. But while still being humorous, it has a strong punchline. Before we go any further, I think we really should talk about the name of the book. I don't know if all of you thought, why the Crow Eaters? Like, why that name? Like, you know, why not any other name? Why not the Parsi community? Or why not their surname? Why the Crow Eaters? Like, does anyone have an answer to that query? So let's move to our friends in Kunar and ask them, when they thought about the book, and especially when they thought about the title, where do they think the title comes from? What is the story behind the title?
Salam name. I think the Crow Eater names, it's a very, very perfect name for it that they put it in this book, in this novel, because the story behind it is that the Parsi community was tactic. The people of the Parsi community were very tactic. They speak more and they are more active in their speeches, and they are part that the real meaning of the Crow Eater is this tactic people. And for this reason, they put this name, and it's very perfect name for this book that they put it.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's very true. And shall we move on to our friends in Khairpur and ask them, when they think about the name of the book, The Crow Eaters, why do you think Bapsi Sidhwa used that particular name as the title of a book? So Khairpur, over to you, girls, boys, whoever wants to take this question.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Today we talked of Bapsi Sadhwa. The topic is the Crow Eaters. The Crow Eaters is a famous Indian crowd, which means one who has talkative and who talks more and more. This novel is written by Bapsi Sadhwa about Parsi community. This community is in minority in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer, Khairpur. Should we move to the Khairpur boys section and ask them what they think could be the reason why Bapsi chose the name The Crow Eaters for a novel?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, the word crow eater The enter explained that it as experience from someone who talk or speak too much. The novel Crow Eaters describes the social classes of Parsi family, and the novel also show amplificating attitude of the Parsi and independence struggle. It represent the family conflict in a common way. Thanks, madam.
Thank you so much for that. Let's move on to Asadabad and ask the girls over there. Do you agree with what Kunar and Khairpur boys and girls section are saying, or do you think there is another meaning hidden within the name? So, your thoughts on why the Crow Eaters as the name of the novel? Asadabad, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am, we hear you. We can hear.
Okay, so what do you think is the reason that Bapsi chose the Crow Eaters as the title for her book? Any thoughts? It doesn't have to be a right or a wrong answer. It just has to be your thoughts. Shall we come back to you? I'll give you a little time to mull over it and think what was the reason behind it. And then we can come back to you and talk about what you thought was the reason that she chose this novel, the title for the novel. And on that note, I would like to congratulate all of you because you all got it right the first time around. I had to do a little research to understand the term, the Crow Eaters, as the title. So you people are much more intelligent than I am, for starters. So Bapsi chose this particular name, the Crow Eaters, for her novel, in which she's talking about the Parsi community, a traditional Parsi community, and how they live, what they experience, and who they are. And above and beyond everything else, she wants people to understand that they are a community like any other community in the world, who come together to support each other, who find peace and closure in being together as a community. And because they are so small in number, they like to be together. And when they get together, they like to share a meal. So they like to come together for food. And they like to come together for conversations, but everything is centered around food for them. And they like to talk. They talk a lot, and they share not just their grievances or their grief, but they also share their joy and their everyday. So they talk a lot, and when they come together, because they all talk, and a lot of times they talk over each other, and it creates a lot of noise. So whenever a Parsi community, a gathering is there, they are a group of people who are there, and because they all want to talk at the same time, they want to talk over each other, and they want to make sure that they are a part of that conversation. It is something that is the way they are. She doesn't try to define them. She just says, this is who we are, this is how we talk. And so because they used to talk so much and they used to get together in groups, so you wouldn't see one or two Parsis in a public place, you would see a group of them. And they would inhabit a lot of public spaces like parks and clubs, and they would get together in the evening. They would bring their children, they would all get together, and they would talk and they would eat. So in by and large in South Asia, these were nicknamed the Crow Eaters. And it was not a positive term to be used because, as we all know, the crow itself has a negative connotation for whatever reason. I'm not going to get into that. But because of the negative connotation and the concept of the Crow Eaters, they became like an outsider from the main community. So she decided to write a book in which she explained who her community was, what their fears were, how they lived, and they were not some others, but they were just people. And she took the term the crow eaters, which was always a negative that was connected to their community, and took ownership of it. And she said, yes, this is who we are. You might call us crow eaters. We're happy with that. We talk a lot. We talk over each other. We make a lot of noise, but then we're human beings. We're alive. We're happy. And this is how we are. So that is why she decided to use the term the crow eaters as a title for her book. And like I had been telling you earlier, we had the pleasure of interviewing Babsi for our project, and we have a small excerpt that we pulled out from that interview, which is very relevant to the conversation we are having today. And I always feel that hearing from the writer kind of personalizes the book that you're reading for you on a completely different level. It gives you an insight into what they were thinking when they were writing and how they want the audience to receive this book. So on that note, I'd like to take you to my to the interview that we did with her and get you to hear from her. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we have seen.
Okay, lovely. So this is Babsi Sidhwa, and now I'm playing. I hope you can hear the audio properly. In case if you can't, please text me.
Sorry, ma'am, we have no sound.
Can anyone not hear, or is it just Asadabad that is having issues with audio?
No, yes, even at my end, I couldn't hear you.
You couldn't hear the screen?
No.
Okay, just 1 second. Okay, I'm just going to try something and then get back to you.
इत्तेफाक से ये हुआ मेरे भाई आ रहे थे मैं तो बिल्कुल प्राइवेसी में चुपचाप.
Did you guys hear now? Okay, lovely.
Yes,
so I'm just playing.
My brother मुझसे 1 साल छोटे थे. और वो मुझे because as a child I had polio and didn't go to school, सब मुझे थोड़ा retarded समझते थे, till I wrote the Crow Eaters. इत्तेफाक से ये हुआ मेरे भाई आ रहे थे मैं तो बिल्कुल प्राइवेसी में चुपचाप लिखती थी क्योंकि मेरा हस्बैंड का फैमिली बिजनेस था, मेरा भी फैमिली बिजनेस था. तो अगर पता चला किसी को कि मैं किताब लिख रही हूँ तो वो मजाक उड़ाते मेरे. Is it all right if I talk in Urdu? जी. So they would jeer के बापसी ने क्या लिखना है, रोमांस लिखेगी, वो मजाक करते थे. So even my brother didn't know, but he vaguely suspected. अब एक दिन वो फैज साहब के साथ जहाज में बैठे थे in coming from Pindi to Lahore. And Javed Iqbal ने क्या किया था कि after my book was self-published, before it was launched, he tore off the back and front covers and gave it to all the writers he knew. तो उनमें से फैज साहब को भी दी. तो Faiz opened this ragged little book and he showed it to my brother and he said, ये कोई पारसी औरत ने लिखी है. तो कौन है? So my brother opened the book and he said, I think my sister writes. And he read a little and he said, this is from my sister. So वो दोनों मेरे घर आ गए गुलबर्ग में. I used to live near the Gulbarg market at that time. And वो उन जमाने में तो खैर एक ही एयर कंडीशन होता था बेडरूम में. तो फैज साहब वहाँ आए. And he said, you've written this book? I said, yes. He said, it's a very good book, but it's a second class book. मैं कहा, अच्छा जी, thank you. He said, "ये जो Narayan or who wrote the House for Mr. Biswas? वो किसने लिखी थी? Naipaul, who won the Nobel Prize. And Naipaul I used to really revere. And he said, your book is as good as Narayan and Naipaul. And, he took a lot of names. And I said, Faisal, ये तो blasphemy है. ये तो बहुत बड़े writers हैं. He said, no, your book is as good as that, So I said, then what do you mean by first-class writers? Shakespeare, Milton. मैंने कहा शाबाश. I said, thank you very much. Putting me in the second class is an honor. And then he sat for a long time and we chatted, And he became a friend. फिर मैं रशिया गई थी, वहाँ मिले थे 2-3 दफा. And बस वो हालात थे. I was always in Lahore. And I migrated to Bombay, where my husband belonged, where the whole Parsi community is based. So that was a charming experience for me to be, for the first time, to be embedded in my community and to get to know Parsis. And I think a lot of what I learned into the Crow Eaters, I realized what a nutty, funny community we are. Not that we are not nutty in Pakistan too, but we are very few.
So that was Upsi Sidhwa talking about why she wrote the book, how she ended up publishing it. For my one partners, because I know that there was a lot of content in Urdu, I will quickly summarize what she said so you guys are aware of what the conversation was all about. So basically, she spoke about the fact that as a child, she had polio, so she did not go to school. And because she did not go to school, everyone in her family kind of thought her not as smart as everybody else because she'd never been to school. And that is the reason that she was a very shy, quiet person. And she really enjoyed writing as a person, as a young girl, because that is how she would find some semblance of normalcy in her life. It was her escape, writing, right? So when she was little, she used to write, and that is how she ended up writing, how the stories kind of came together for her. So when she was young, she got married and she moved to Bombay. And when she moved to Bombay is when she got an opportunity to become even more embedded in her community, because in Bombay there's a really large Parsi population, right? And because there's a large Parsi population, there are more social spaces where the Parsis congregate. And I know this isn't something that she spoke about in the excerpt that we shared with you, but she told us that every evening she would take her children and she and her husband would go to the club where the Parsis would gather. And it was like a ritual for them. They would all get dressed up in the evening and go there. And then they would have a meal over there. They would just sit with their friends and their community members. And then they would come back. And that was an everyday occurrence. Like dinner was barely ever at home. Dinner was always with the community in some social space where the community had gotten together. So that is how it was for her as well. So when she went to Bombay is when she got more exposure into the community of how they live and how they act. And when she came back to Pakistan, unfortunately, that marriage did not work out for her. And she took a divorce from her husband and moved back to Lahore. When she came back to Lahore and she started writing The Crow Eaters, she realized that all the cultural understanding of being a Parsi that she had gotten from her exposure in Bombay is what aided her in writing the book, The Crow Eaters. And then she further goes on to talk about how when she got the book published, nobody was really willing to publish it because they said, who would be interested in reading about a Parsi woman? I mean, you're such a small community, people will really not be interested. So one of her friends, who's a very famous cultural literary person in Pakistan, his name is Javed Jabbar, he got the book published. And one day when Babsi's brother and Faiz Ahmed Faiz. Now, Faiz Ahmed Faiz in Pakistan is one of the most revered poets, writers, philosophers, thinkers, and freedom fighters. So he has a very, very high scale on which he is measured in Pakistan, especially in the literary circle. So Faiz Ahmed Faiz and her brother were coming back on a flight from Lahore to Rawalpindi. That is where she lived at that time. And while they were on the flight, Faiz Ahmed Faiz had a copy of a book, which was like a really rundown, small, like, you know, like you would take a printout and you would just clip it and be like, okay, this is a book. So that is what he had. And he said, and he told her brother that, you know, somebody gave me this book, but there is no name as to who's written the book. And you're a Parsi, do you know maybe who has written this book? And her brother read a little of the book and he thought, and he realized that this could be her. But he said, oh, you know, my sister writes, I think this is her, but I'm not sure. So when they got off the plane, Faiz Ahmed Faiz came to her house and said that you are a great writer. And he compared her to some of the most highly acclaimed writers from Southeast Asia. And for her, that was an honor beyond words. And that is how she got the confidence to not only write, but to get her work published. And that is what she spoke about. So another reason why people like Babsi should really be understood and read is because how she explains, right, that as a child, she never went to regular school. But that did not really stop her imagination from rolling, right? So everything that we consider to be something that is stopping us from reaching our dreams is just in our head. It actually doesn't exist. So a lot of times we have to overcome our own fears, take responsibility for who we are, and take that leap of faith like she did and achieve whatever our dreams or desires are. Because, you know, the only thing stopping us from reaching our dreams is the fear of failure. It's not failure itself. It is the fear that we have that we might not succeed that lets us not even make the effort of trying. So that's why I think people like Babsi are not just a good read, but they're actually very inspirational. And they kind of give us as readers that belief that even we can do whatever we put our hearts and desires to. And I'd love to move back to Kunar and ask the students over there what they thought about Babsi's interview. And now, having connected the author with the story, what do they have to say? So I'm going to move to Kunar, then I'm going to go to Khairpur girls, then Khairpur boys, and then I'm going to go to Asadabad girls section. So everyone should be sorted, and I'm not going to get my speaker on again. And
Okay, Abdullah, and what is the summary of this website, and what is the characteristic of this?
I'm sorry, Kunar, your mic is muted. If you could kindly unmute.
Okay, ma'am, what is the summary of Pepsi Sedwa and what is the characteristic of Pepsi Sedwa?
Is that a question that you're asking me that you want me to answer?
I think so. It's a question, and he's trying to ask Basri Silva, and what can we tell him about it?
Oh, okay. So Bapsi Sidhwa was a child born in Lahore before partition, like I explained to you in the beginning. Before 1947, the whole of India, which included India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh today, were one region, and there were multiple different ethnicities that were living in one place. And Bapsi was born into a Parsi community. She was born into a traditional Parsi family. And as a child, she remembers Lahore being very less populated, having neighbors who were Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, and so it was a very diverse society that she was born into. And she remembered, like, as a child, because she had polio, most of the times she used to be home. But then she also remembered seeing partition and how it impacted her. And there are lots of incidents that she speaks about. I'm not going to go into that, but like, she actually witnessed that. So if you read her book, The Ice Candy Man, you will realize that partition actually impacted her quite strongly, and it created a sense of awareness within her, which she speaks about in her book, The Ice Candy Man. But in The Crow Eaters, she's talking about her community, right? So she, answering your question into who Bapsi Sidhwa is a girl who was born in Lahore prior to the partition of the Indian subcontinent. And she grew up in a traditional Parsi family. When she was born, she developed polio, and because of having polio and not having mobility or comfortable mobility, she never went to school. She was home taught, and because she was home taught, she got to explore literature a lot and started writing from a very young age. When she grew up, she got married and she moved to Bombay, but she was still like writing, but just for herself. She was not published. After her marriage didn't work out and she moved back to Pakistan, is when she started writing as novels, right? And when she started writing as novels, she was very uncomfortable about her work, and she did not know whether it would ever get published or people would be interested in reading it or stuff like that. Fortunately for her, one of her friends encouraged her to share this with the publisher. When she did, the publisher was not interested. But at that time, when she wrote the book, a lot of literature was being published in the Soviet Union. So her book was published and it came to Pakistan. And then here, it actually started gaining momentum and popularity. And that is how Bapsi, the writer, was born, right? So this is who she is. Like, why is Bapsi important? Like I said, is because she did not let her impairment stop her pursuing what was truly her truest self, right? And later on, she went on to college, she went on to university, even though she never got basic education. She never went to secondary or primary school. She didn't do high school, but she did college and university. I mean, not doing high school in a school does not mean that you're not educated, right? You can get educated at home. And that is what she did. She is pretty much self-taught. And that shows us that one of the most renowned literary people from Indian subcontinent was a person who never went to school. So let's not have society define who we are and explore within ourselves what we can become. All of us, like whether we be in Pakistan or we be in Afghanistan, live in very difficult circumstances. Not all of us have an opportunity to go to school. But the idea of having conversations like the one we are having right now is for us to understand that we might not be going to structured schools, but we still have dreams that we can pursue. And we can look at it from an internal perspective, and rather than being like what we do not have, build on what we do. Go and find libraries that we can be part of, get books, because truly, I truly believe this, that the best way to get knowledge, understanding, and information is by reading. So whether we read a physical book, or by living in the 21st century, having those books available at our fingertips via the amazing technology called the internet, these are all opportunities that we have today. Like, I mean, look at this. Think about it in this way, right? That we have 12 books that we're going to be reading in the course of this 1 year. And those books are traveling from one city to another. And the traveling time was actually cutting on our reading time. So Hurmat very intelligently put all of those books on a Google server and shared that link with every one of you. So now all of those books are available at your fingertip at the click of a button. You have that whole book as a PDF that you can browse through while you are going and doing whatever you want to do. I mean, there is no external pressure of not having something. So if in today's day and age somebody says, oh, I never got an opportunity, then one should really question whether they would actually try to pursue the opportunities that were available to them. I mean, I can understand not all of us have great internet, but we do have average internet. And if rather than wasting our time on looking up random, not really useful videos on YouTube or not really intelligent content on Google, we could use that time and that device intelligently to further educate ourselves, because by educating ourselves is when we will truly be able to not just help ourselves, but help our community, help our country, and help the world at large. So, I mean, that is what I take home from this whole story of Babsi. And on that note, I think we're running really short on time. So I'm just going to take one final message, quote that all of you want to share that you found through the book. It could be a personal realization, it could be a quote, or it could be something that you wrote while you were reading the book. So I'm going to go to Kunar first, then Khairpur girls section, then Khairpur boys section, and then to Asadabad. So Kunar, over to you. A closing note, please.
Okay, ma'am. I would like to telling you about the book that she wrote in a perfect way, in a good manner, and how she wrote it. And like you told that Bipsi Sadwa wasn't educated at school, and at first in primary education she got in the at home, and after she wrote that kind of novels, like in addition to Crow Eaters, she wrote many more novels, and she is popular as a novelist in Karachi. And she wrote and how she explored the social issues and traditional issues and political issues of the Parsi community.
Kunar, we've lost you.
In this novel, religions, Islam, Hinduism, Zarathustra, and these all religions she explained in a way that we can to get something from it. And like when I was at first time I read the Crow Eaters, I was thoroughly amused by it, and she did, and she gave a structure to it, and the skirmish between the Freddy and his mother-in-law Jarbanu was very wonderful in the story, and also the how she explained the more social issues, like one day the Freddy felt salt in a hot summer day in the water, like they explained that how they are give signals to their leaders that we are wanting to do marriage, and they explain in a good manner and good way.
Thank you for that. Moving to Khairpur girls section. Girls, over to you.
In the name of Almighty Allah, who is the most merciful, beneficent, and the creator of this world. Honorable everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Today my topic is The Crow Strain by Baspi Sindhwa. At the dawn in 20th century in Pakistan, Freedy Jangalwala moves his family, pregnant wife, baby daughter, and Jerbanu, his routed mother-in-law, from their ancestral forest home to cosmopolitan home Lahore. He opens store as his fortunes grow. So does the animosity between Freedy and his mother-in-law. While Freedy proposes under British rule life with the domestically Jerbanu. His another matter entirely the exhibition novel full of rollicking humor paints a vivid picture of the life in the press community. Press community is minority of Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving to Khairpur boys. Your closing.
Hello everyone, I hope you all are good and fit, fine. So I want to share with you a brief summary of this book. Freedom Janglawala, nicknamed as Freddy, was a strikingly handsome man with a soft and pliant voice. In his youth, he had come to Lahore with his wife and mother-in-law as a penniless man. In Lahore, he started his store and soon as a successful businessman, established successful businessman. His manly bearing and soft spoken manners quickly he found his way into Punjab part. But there has always been a thorn in his flesh. It was mother-in-law Jerbanu who was a constant source of worry for him, and she did everything to disrupt him. Okay, that's my topic.
Thank you very much for that. Asadabad, over to you for a closing remark.
Hello, ma'am.
Asadabad, is there something that you would like to add on to the conversation as a closing remark?
Yes, we have. Yes.
Hi everyone, in the name of Allah, character of this novel, Dipsy Sidhwa is the writer of the novel Khairpur. She belongs to the Faris juristic region in Bahrain, Pakistan. Faridun is the main structure in protagonist of novel. Khairpur has complete name Faridun Jangalwala. Jirbanu is the major problem in his life. Faridun is either the jewel of the Farsi community or a modern under Freddy's mother-in-law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for being an amazing audience, for reading the book, for sharing your thoughts, for listening to us. It's amazing to have all of you and to see how far you have come, to hear you, to watch you talk. It fills us with joy. And we are so glad, so proud, and so humbled at the same time by how far you have come. And we hope and pray that as we progress into the book clubs, we see more and more of your confidence, your intellect, and your desire to read more books. And that is what we are trying to achieve. We are trying to inculcate value of reading in you, and for you not to just read, but to understand what you read, to form opinions on what you read, and not to be scared of sharing those opinions. And on that note, I'd like to say Khudafiz from the CAP team. Like always, it was a pleasure and cannot wait to reconnect with you next month.
Bye bye. Take care, guys.